What happens when the school bully pushes the wrong girl, one who's been training for this exact moment? There's something about high school cafeterias that brings out the worst in people. Maybe it's the noise. Maybe it's the way everyone tries to pretend they're not watching each other when they definitely are. But at Jefferson High, the Commons during lunch wasn't just about food. It was a battlefield for reputation. That's where it happened. It was a Thursday. Nothing special. Warm weather outside, juniors and seniors half counting down the weeks to summer break. Arielle Monroe had just finished her pre-calc test and was heading to the lunch area, earbuds in, her bag slung over one shoulder, and a half-read copy of Kindred in her hand. She was 16, sharp, observant, and quiet in a way that made people think she didn't notice what went on around her. But she did. She just didn't say much about it. She scanned the usual open tables. Most were already claimed by athletes, theater kids, the band crew, the influencer types who always had their phones out. Her usual seat by the windows was taken, so she adjusted and started toward a half-filled table near the middle. That's when she saw it. A backpack, right in the center of the bench, like it was marking territory. She stopped, made eye contact with the guy whose bag it was. Tall, senior jacket, blonde buzz cut. His name was Bryce Callahan. She recognized him, everyone did. He was one of those people who was known not for what he did, but for the way people walked around him. Like he was a pothole in the hallway that never got fixed. Ariel walked over, calm as ever. "Hey," she said, just loud enough to be polite. "Can I sit here? Could you move your bag?" Bryce didn't even look at her at first, just kept picking at his tray. Then he smirked and tilted his head like he couldn't believe she was speaking to him. "You serious?" he asked, voice flat. Ariel nodded once. "Yeah, just need a seat." He leaned back, exaggerated, like her question somehow offended him. Then he glanced over at his friends, two other guys, both seniors, both watching. One of them laughed under his breath. "Whole cafeteria," Bryce said. "And you want to sit right here?" "It's not your table," Ariel replied, still calm. "Just your bag." That was the moment things shifted. The smirk disappeared. His jaw tightened just slightly. Not that Ariel flinched. She just waited, not blinking, not backing off. He reached down, grabbed the backpack slowly, and moved it, just a few inches, barely clearing enough space. "There," he said. "Go ahead." Most people would have walked away or looked for another spot, but Ariel just sat, smooth, steady, like this was exactly what she expected. The boys at the other end of the table chuckled to themselves. Someone nearby whispered. Ariel opened her book like she hadn't heard any of it. But Bryce? He wasn't laughing. He kept stealing glances at her, like her refusal to be rattled messed with his head. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Ariel didn't say a word, didn't even eat much, just read, occasionally looking up when someone moved nearby. Bryce kept talking to his friends, throwing shade, but his voice was louder now, too loud. He was putting on a show, until he wasn't. He suddenly turned toward her. "You think you're tough or something?" Ariel looked up, brows raised, confused. "Excuse me?" "I said," Bryce repeated, pushing his tray aside, "you think you're tough, sitting here, acting like you don't care?" She stared at him, not scared, just tired, like she'd seen this kind of performance before. "I'm just sitting," she said. "Yeah," he muttered, standing up now, body shifting slightly toward her space. "Then sit somewhere else." People nearby started turning. Conversations paused. Someone reached for their phone. Ariel closed her book. Not fast, not slow, just intentional. "I'm not moving," she said. He stepped closer. That's when his hand came down on the table, loud enough to make a few kids flinch. And then the moment everyone talks about, he shoved her shoulder. Not hard enough to knock her down, but enough to make it clear. This wasn't a joke anymore. But Bryce was about to learn that not every quiet girl stays quiet when you put your hands on her. Before we get to what happened next, you've got to understand something. Arielle Monroe wasn't just some girl trying to prove a point in a high school cafeteria. She didn't start fights. She didn't chase drama. She wasn't trying to be anyone's hero or anyone's problem. But she knew who she was. She had to. Because the world had already tried her a few times, and she learned early on that being quiet didn't mean being weak. She lived with her mom and older brother in a modest apartment just outside of Tucson, Arizona. Nothing fancy, just clean floors, old couches, and love that didn't always get said out loud, but was felt in the way dinner got made and rides were given without asking. Her mom, Camille, worked long hours at the hospital as a nurse, often coming home past midnight. Her brother Devin was 19, fresh into community college, and constantly reminding Ariel not to let people walk over her. "You ain't gotta bark," he told her once, "but you damn sure better bite when it's time." The thing is, Ariel wasn't born with a temper. She didn't snap back, didn't throw punches over petty stuff. But when she was 13, something happened at a city park. A man followed her for too long, said something he shouldn't have, and even though she got away unharmed, that was the moment her mom put her in a Krav Maga class. It started off simple, just something to ease everyone's minds, but she stuck with it. Year after year, her posture changed, her awareness sharpened. Not paranoia, just readiness. 3 times a week after school, no excuses. Her instructors didn't go easy on her. They didn't care if she was a teenage girl surrounded by grown adults. She trained like she had something to lose, and in her mind, she did. By the time she turned 16, she could disarm someone holding a bottle to her throat. She could break out of wrist locks. She could turn a bigger opponent's weight against them. And most importantly, she could breathe through pressure without losing herself. But she never talked about it. Not at school, not online, not even with her closest friends. It wasn't for show. It was for survival. Back at Jefferson High, most people only saw what they wanted to. The quiet black girl in the second row, the one who never raised her voice and never started anything. But Ariel had been paying attention. She saw how Bryce pushed smaller kids in the hallways, how he mocked a freshman with a stutter until the boy skipped school for a week. She saw how teachers either ignored it or quietly asked him to tone it down, like they were scared of his parents. She watched and remembered. So when Bryce stood over her in that cafeteria, Ariel wasn't just reacting to one shove. She was responding to every time someone like him thought they could get away with it, every time someone confused silence with fear. She didn't panic, didn't flinch, just stood up slowly, locking eyes with him like she had all the time in the world. "And Bryce?" He laughed. "Yo," he said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You standing up for real?" She didn't answer. He got closer. "You gonna cry or swing? 'Cause I ain't scared of either." His friends were watching. Cameras were up now, and the room had gone quiet except for a few whispers and the rustle of trays being pushed away. Ariel took one step back, controlled, measured, her feet planted firmly, her hands down by her side, open, not clenched. "Don't touch me again," she said, voice even. Bryce scoffed. Or what? But Bryce didn't really want to know the answer to that question, and he was about to find out anyway. The air in the cafeteria changed. You could feel it. Everyone did. It was like the temperature dropped, and no one knew whether to laugh or hold their breath. Ariel wasn't moving. She didn't blink. She didn't take a step forward or backward. She just stood there, calm, steady, like the eye of a storm. Her voice had been soft, but clear. "Don't touch me again." Bryce grinned. He thought this was funny, thought it was some TikTok moment about to go viral with him in control of the punchline. He leaned toward her, way too close, like he was trying to prove something. "You're real serious all of a sudden," he said, mocking her tone. She didn't respond. He looked around, saw the phones pointed at them. Some kids were whispering, others were just frozen. The lunch monitors were way in the back, one of them too distracted by a spilled tray to notice anything yet. That's when Bryce made his next move, the one everyone talks about. He reached out again, this time with more weight behind it. His hand hit her shoulder harder, meant to shove her back, not just tap. He wanted to embarrass her, to make her stumble. But Ariel didn't stumble. Instead, time slowed. Just a little. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. What she did was something most people didn't even fully catch until they watched it back later in someone's shaky phone video. In one clean movement, she shifted her weight onto her back foot, turned her shoulder inward, and let his push roll right off her body. She stepped into him, not away, and used the motion of his shove against him. Her hand shot up, controlled, grabbing his wrist. The other pressed lightly behind his elbow, and before Bryce even understood what was happening, she pivoted. Fast. His body twisted, awkwardly. His balance gone. She didn't throw him hard, just enough to send him stumbling backward, arms flailing. He landed on his backside, hard, right on the cafeteria floor. And that silence? It cracked. Half the room gasped. The other half didn't know what to say. One of Bryce's friends stood up like he might jump in, but Arielle had already stepped away, hands still open, posture relaxed. She hadn't hurt him. Not really. No punches, no kicks. She hadn't fought back in the way people expected. She had simply moved and let him fall. Bryce scrambled up, his face red, embarrassed, angry, not from pain, but because she hadn't done what he wanted. She didn't get loud. She didn't swing wildly. She didn't give him anything to grab onto. "You think this is funny?" he barked. "You think that was cute?" Ariel looked at him and said 5 words that shut him down completely. "Are you done embarrassing yourself?" The crowd broke. Laughter, murmurs, phone cameras still rolling. Bryce's face twisted. You could see it. He wanted to do something, say something, but he didn't. Maybe because he knew if he touched her again, it wouldn't end the same way. Maybe because he finally realized everyone was watching, and he wasn't the one in control anymore. The lunch monitors started heading over, finally seeing the commotion. Bryce turned, mumbled something under his breath, and walked off fast, brushing past a group of freshmen who couldn't stop staring. Ariel sat back down, lifted her book again, and flipped the page like nothing happened. The assistant principal showed up 2 minutes later. "Miss Monroe," he said, standing next to her, "you need to come with me." She nodded, put her book in her bag, and followed without a word. Phones were still out. The footage was already spreading. By the end of 6th period, almost every student at Jefferson High had seen it. And the funny part? Nobody was talking about Bryce's shove. They were all talking about what happened after, but the fallout hadn't even started yet. And some people still couldn't believe what they saw was real. 10 seconds. That's all it took. From the moment Bryce shoved her to the moment he hit the floor. 10 seconds that flipped the entire school's perception of Arielle Monroe on its head. She walked down the hallway behind the assistant principal, Mr. Jennings, a tall, gray-haired man who usually tried to avoid anything that smelled like controversy. He didn't say much, just kept glancing back at her like he wasn't sure what version of the story he was about to hear. They stopped outside the front office. Inside, the glass walls gave a full view of the front desk, the nurse's station, and the row of chairs where students sat when they were either in trouble or waiting to get called out early. That day, the chair closest to the window was already occupied. Bryce, still red in the face. He glanced up when Ariel walked in and immediately looked away. Mrs. Valdez, the receptionist, glanced at both of them, then motioned Ariel to sit on the opposite side of the room. No eye contact, no small talk. The silence dragged. Finally, the door to Mr. Jennings's office opened. He waved both of them in. They sat down across from his desk, one chair apart. The air felt thick, like all 3 of them were trying to read the same invisible script at the same time. "So," Mr. Jennings said, folding his hands, "someone want to tell me what happened today?" Bryce spoke first, loud, like he was already building a case. "She threw me to the ground," he said, "in front of everyone. Just lost it. I didn't even touch her like that." Ariel didn't blink. She just looked at him, then turned to Mr. Jennings. "He pushed me twice," she said. She said. "I told him not to. He did it again. I defended myself." Mr. Jennings tapped his pen against the legal pad. "And by defended yourself, you mean?" "I redirected him," she replied, calm. "Didn't hit him, didn't hurt him, just got him off me." "Redirected," Bryce repeated, scoffing. "What is she, some ninja now?" "I take Krav Maga," Ariel said, not looking at him. 3 years. I don't start fights, but I won't let someone put hands on me and think that's okay." Mr. Jennings stared at them both. You could tell he wasn't used to this kind of thing. Not from a student like Ariel. Not from anyone, really. "You're not hurt, are you?" he asked Bryce. "Nah, I'm good," Bryce mumbled. "And Ariel, you weren't trying to escalate the situation?" "No, sir. I just wanted a place to sit." He nodded slowly, scribbled a few notes, then sighed. "I'll need to review the footage," he said, "but based on what I've heard and what's already been posted online, it sounds like this situation could have gone a lot worse." He looked at Bryce. "You shouldn't have touched her, period." Bryce opened his mouth, then shut it. Then he turned to Ariel. "And you, I know you didn't throw a punch, but this isn't the place for physical confrontations, even controlled ones." Ariel nodded. "I understand." Mr. Jennings leaned back in his chair, rubbing his forehead. For now, I'm going to call both of your parents. You'll stay in separate parts of the building the rest of the day. No suspension. Not yet. But if I find anything else on that footage, we'll revisit. Bryce groaned under his breath. Ariel stayed quiet. He dismissed them one by one. Bryce first. Ariel waited outside the office while her mom was called. Camille Monroe was at work, but as soon as she heard what happened, she left her shift early. It took her 30 minutes to arrive. She didn't storm in, didn't yell, just walked up to the front desk, asked for her daughter, and then gave her a long look. The kind that wasn't angry, but deeply alert. In the car, Ariel finally broke the silence. I didn't want to hurt him. Camille stared out the windshield. You didn't, she said, but you made a choice. Ariel nodded. I know. Camille didn't say much else, but before pulling out of the parking lot, she added one thing. I'm proud of you. For standing up, and for staying in control. But while Ariel thought it might be over, the school had only just started whispering, and not everyone liked what they were hearing. By Friday morning, the video had made it past the walls of Jefferson High. It was posted on Instagram first, by some sophomore with too many numbers in his username. Then it hit TikTok. A 10-second clip captioned, She flipped him for real? Soundtracked by some trending beat. It got shared, stitched, and slowed down. People added captions, memes, reactions. Within hours, it had over 100,000 views, but the numbers weren't what hit hardest. It was the way people looked at her. Ariel walked into school with her head up, like always. But now, eyes followed her. Not with pity, not exactly with admiration either. It was something in between, curiosity mixed with confusion. Like they were all trying to reconcile the quiet girl they'd passed in the hallway for years with the one in the video. Some kids smiled at her, others stepped out of her way. And Bryce? He didn't show up that morning. Rumor was he told the office he felt unsafe, which was wild, considering he was the one who started it. But that's how it goes sometimes. People play victim when they lose the upper hand. At lunch, Ariel sat at a different table, this time with her friend Renee, who hadn't seen the moment live but had plenty to say after watching the video 50 times. You really flipped that man, Renee whispered, grinning. Like for real. Ariel gave a small smile, but she didn't feel like celebrating. I didn't flip him, she said. I moved. He fell. Same difference. No, Ariel said softly. It's not. Across the cafeteria, a group of freshmen whispered and pointed. One of them held up their phone like they were trying to compare the real Ariel to the one on their screen. She hated it. Not because she was ashamed, but because that moment wasn't supposed to define her. It wasn't some trick. It wasn't a clapback. It was self-defense. Period. But that's not how the internet worked. By 7th period, a teacher asked her, quietly, after class, if she was okay. Not if she needed help. Not if she felt threatened. Just if she was okay. It was weird, like the adults didn't know how to react either. Some clearly wanted to say she was brave. Others wanted to pretend it never happened. Then there was Bryce's crew. 2 of his boys approached her near the vending machines during last period. Not aggressive, just circling like vultures with fake politeness. Yo, Monroe, one said. Heard you went all ninja assassin on Bryce. Ariel didn't reply. The second guy leaned in a little closer. You know, if you were mad about the seat, you could have just said something. No need for the WWE moves. She turned to face him fully, calm, just like before. You think this was about a seat? She asked. He shrugged. Whatever it was, you made him look soft. That's not going to sit right with him. Ariel looked at both of them. No fear, no heat, just honesty. Then maybe he shouldn't go around pushing people who ask him nicely to move a bag. Neither one had a response. They backed off. But the message was clear. Bryce's pride had been hit harder than his body. And some people took that personally, especially the ones who had spent too long thinking strength was about size, volume, and ego. That afternoon, Ariel was called back to the office. This time, it wasn't about punishment. It was about what came next. Mr. Jennings sat with her and Camille again. I've spoken with district staff, he said, voice even, and with Bryce's parents. They're considering options. He may transfer out. Ariel stayed silent. You're not in trouble, Ariel, but we need to make sure you're comfortable here, that you feel safe. She met his eyes. I've always felt safe. It's other people who just didn't expect me to be. Jennings nodded slowly. Camille smiled faintly. But even with the school stepping in, something deeper was happening. Something no one could control, not even Ariel. Bryce showed up on Monday. No big announcement, no drama. He just walked into school like nothing happened. Except now, he didn't carry himself the same. The strut was gone. The smirk. The way he used to take up space like the hallway belonged to him. People still looked, but not at him the way they used to. Ariel didn't avoid him. She didn't glare, didn't whisper, didn't act like she was above him either. She just kept moving, like always, focused, solid, like her own gravity pulled her forward. But what no one expected was what happened that Friday, after school. She was walking toward the back gate, earbuds in, ready to catch the bus home, when she saw someone waiting by the fence. Bryce. Alone, she paused, took out one earbud. "I'm not here to start anything," he said quickly. I didn't know how else to say something." Ariel crossed her arms. "You don't have to say anything." "Yeah, I do," he replied, looking down for a second. "I messed up. I let people gas me up, and I thought pushing you was going to make me look tough or whatever, but all it did was show everybody what I really am." She didn't say anything at first, just let the silence sit. He glanced up. "You could have hurt me." "I didn't want to," she said. "I just wanted you to stop." He nodded. "I saw the comments," he added. "The videos, the jokes. It's been brutal. But the part that messed with me the most wasn't the fall. It was the way you didn't lose control. Like I was wilding out, and you just handled it." Ariel didn't gloat, didn't smile. "I've had to handle a lot," she said. "People don't always expect you to know how." Bryce rubbed the back of his neck. "Anyway, I'm not asking you to forgive me. Just wanted to say I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." Ariel looked him in the eye, and what she saw wasn't fear. It was something quieter, like someone who finally realized the world didn't revolve around him. "Thank you for saying that," she said. He nodded once and turned to leave, and just like that, it was over. Not erased, not forgotten, but done. Later that night, Ariel sat with her mom at the kitchen table, helping fold laundry. Camille looked at her and said, "You okay?" Ariel smiled. "Yeah, I am." Because the truth was, the fight was never about violence. It was about value, about knowing your worth and not letting anyone chip away at it, no matter how loud they are or how many people laugh with them. And sometimes, standing up doesn't mean throwing fists. It just means knowing exactly who you are and refusing to shrink. If someone pushes you, not just physically, but with their words, their looks, their assumptions, remember this. You don't have to shout to be strong. You just have to stand your ground. If you've ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or disrespected, drop a comment. Let your voice be heard, and let someone else know they're not alone.